So how do you maintain that excitement? When you get to the should and somebody's got a great idea, they're really passionate about it, but it just doesn't fit with what the business needs at that time. How do you keep them energized and excited while still managing the needs of the organization overall rather than just the needs of the individual at that time?
Absolutely. I think it's really all about posture and the energy that you show up. And that sounds fluffy. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit. When I think a lot of people hear these conversations where people have great ideas and the organization is, steaming straight ahead on something else, for those people who've got those great ideas, you just have to say no. And one of the things is that, when people say no, there's a lot of people out there where they say, oh, just you wait and see, I will get this done. They see that as a challenge rather than as Jeff's pointing to himself here. And so, they see that as a challenge. And so, people say, hold my beer and watch me. And so, for me, I really try to, redirect that energy rather than saying no. I say yes and I highlight what the rest of the organization is doing, and I try to redirect that energy. Funny enough, I actually learned this from volunteering at summer camps and leading little children. You cannot tell children no. But you can redirect that energy. You can see that enthusiasm and you say, yes, and, I need you to go back to the cafeteria because we're going to go have lunch. Let's make a game of it. Who can get there first, right? Redirecting energy is one of those things. And so when people come to you with an idea, rather than saying no, saying, I think there's a way that you can say no without saying no, but I prefer to try to say yes and how do we steer this toward what the broader company is doing? Because then you're not closing a door off, you're opening another door. You're not triggering their limbic system and their defense mechanisms. You're triggering their frontal lobe and, their cognitive thinking and their critical thought. And they're asking, oh, how do I tie this in? Or, oh, maybe it doesn't really play into what the broader organization is doing, and then I work with them and I say, okay, well, the organization is doing this and that's a big thing with a lot of momentum. What do we want to do with this smaller thing here? And I ask them, how do they think it stacks up, right? Rather than me tell them that their solution isn't worth pursuing, I just spend 15 minutes to work with them to help them unpack it. And they just say, oh yeah, maybe this isn't the most important thing in the grand scheme of things. And oftentimes, if you ask the right questions, they can talk themselves out of it because they didn't know that these were good or helpful questions to ask. And other times where it's like, oh yeah, this is we might find that it is worth doing, but maybe not worth doing today. And so for those situations, I always say, risk register. We put it on a list. We track it somewhere. We don't need to think about it tomorrow or 3 months from now, but every few months, we're going to go back to our risk register. We're going to look at what's on there. We're going to say, hey, what's next that we should work on in the risk register? And that alone also helps people because we're not saying no. We're saying, hey, let's try to come back to this later. And we've got a standardized place where we record these great ideas. And so I think those two approaches really help me in that regard.